When number 14 walked into the locker room that night after practice, something inside me completely changed. I was still sweating after hours of intense exercise, but it was his look that set my heart racing in a way no workout ever had. My name is Connor, I'm 20, and basketball has always been my whole life. I grew up shooting hoops on the makeshift basket my dad put up in the garage. The sport was my refuge, my identity. What I didn't know was that it would also be the path to discovering who I really was. Subscribe to the channel and hit like to get more stories like this. My routine was simple. Wake up, study, and train until I was exhausted. Our college team was among the favorites in the state championship, and I took that very seriously. Our days began with the sound of sneakers squeaking on the polished wooden court and ended with the smell of muscle cream and talks about game strategies. I shared an apartment with 2 other teammates but spent most of my time alone, studying plays or watching old game videos. The locker room after practice was always noisy, filled with guys debating last night's game or planning weekend outings. I usually stayed until everyone had left, enjoying the silence to collect my thoughts. It was on one of those nights that Lucas, number 14, decided to stay as well. Lucas was 23, a forward, about 6'5", with a natural talent that made professional scouts drool. Unlike most of the guys on the team, he was quiet and observant. Whenever he walked into a room, people noticed. Not just because of his impressive height, but because there was something magnetic about him. "Do you always practice those shots after everyone leaves?" he asked, catching me by surprise as I was packing up my gear. "Whenever I can," I replied simply, not looking up. "I noticed you have a pattern. Left, right, center. 3 in a row." He grabbed a ball and spun it skillfully in his hands. "Can I show you a variation?" That night, we stayed on the court for another 2 hours. Lucas taught me shot variations I had never tried before. Our bodies moved in sync, as if we'd been practicing together for years. When our hands brushed as we passed the ball, I felt a strange energy, unlike anything I'd ever experienced. In the following weeks, we established a routine. Extra workouts after official practice, conversations in the empty locker room, and rides home together. I learned that Lucas grew up in a small town, the son of a local basketball coach. He hated carrots and loved old Western movies. He had a rare laugh that, when it happened, lit up his whole face. Our friendship grew naturally, but there was something more there. Something I tried to ignore. Sometimes I caught Lucas watching me during practice, and when our eyes met, he wouldn't look away. Those moments left me confused, anxious, yet strangely hopeful. The first major obstacle came when Coach Rodriguez announced that the season finals were approaching, and unofficial extra workouts were banned to avoid injuries. Suddenly, my alone time with Lucas was threatened. At the same time, Ryan, my roommate, started asking why I was coming home so late from practice, his look suggesting he suspected something. "How about we keep training at the community gym at the end of my street?" Lucas suggested after the coach's announcement. "It's practically deserted after 10. That gym became our refuge, a place where it was just the 2 of us, free from the weight of team expectations or the curious stares of our teammates. As the season went on and the pressure mounted, I realized that basketball was no longer my only passion. Admitting that to myself was hard enough, let alone admitting it to Lucas. One night, after an especially intense practice, we paused to catch our breath. We sat side by side, our breathing still heavy. "What happens when the season ends?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Lucas looked up, sweat still dripping down his perfectly chiseled face. His eyes reflected the dim lights of the abandoned gym. "I don't know," he finally replied, "but I don't want to think about it right now." There was a vulnerability in his voice I had never heard before. The silence between us was loaded with unsaid words and feelings that neither of us knew how to express. That night, the temperature had dropped drastically. The old gym had no heating, and I could see Lucas shivering slightly despite the intense workout. "I have a thermos of coffee in my car," I suggested, breaking the silence. We walked to the empty parking lot. Inside my car, the space suddenly felt too small. The steam from the coffee fogged up the windows, giving a sense of isolation from the outside world. As we talked strategies for the next game, I noticed Lucas watching my lips while I spoke. His closeness made my heart race. "Have you ever thought about us off the court?" Lucas asked abruptly, his voice almost a whisper. The question hung in the air like a ball at the peak of its arc before it started to drop. I swallowed hard, unable to look away. "All the time," I finally admitted. The world seemed to freeze in that moment. Lucas slowly leaned toward me, giving me a chance to pull back, but I didn't want to. When our lips met, it was like scoring the winning point in the last seconds of a crucial game. A burst of adrenaline, satisfaction, and relief all at once. His hands found my face, strong yet gentle. The coffee was forgotten. The world outside vanished. It was just the two of us in that moment. "Come over to my place," he murmured against my lips. Lucas's apartment was simple, minimalist. Posters of basketball legends lined the walls alongside bookshelves, something that surprised me. As he made more coffee in the kitchen, I checked out the titles. Biographies, history, philosophy. "I didn't know you were such an avid reader," I commented, running my fingers along the spines. "There are many things you don't know about me," he replied, a mysterious smile on his lips. "Not yet." The promise in that last word sent shivers down my entire body. When he came closer, offering me a steaming mug, our fingers brushed again. This time, neither of us pretended it was a mistake. The night unfolded in a slow dance of discoveries. We talked for hours, and with every revelation, we grew closer. Lucas told me about his dad, who never accepted his desire to study literature instead of just playing basketball. I shared my doubts about my sexuality, something I had never voiced to anyone. "I've never felt like this with anyone," I confessed while we sat on the sofa, our legs touching. "It's terrifying." "The best kind of fear," he replied, his fingers tracing patterns on my arm. "Like right before a big final." When his lips met mine again, there was no hesitation. My hands explored the contours of his body, the parts I'd discreetly admired during practice countless times. His skin was warm, and every inch I discovered brought new sensations. He led me to the bedroom, our clothes left behind like breadcrumbs. Along the way, moonlight streamed through the window, drawing dancing shadows on his golden skin. His hands, once so adept with the ball, now touched me with a precision that left me breathless. "You're perfect," he whispered, as his lips traced a path along my neck and down my chest. Every touch was like a spark, igniting parts of me I never knew existed. We moved in sync like we did on our best plays on the court. There was an urgency in our movements, a release of years of pent-up desire. His heavy breathing in my ear, the weight of his body on mine, and that feeling of completeness were unlike anything I'd ever experienced. When our bodies finally came together, it was as if we transcended the physical. We were a storm of emotions and sensations, building together until we reached a climax that left us trembling and breathless. Time seemed to stretch and compress all at once, each second an eternity, every minute passing too fast. Lying side by side afterwards, our fingers intertwined, we stared at the shadows on the ceiling. Reality slowly crept back into our bubble. "What do we do now?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Lucas turned to me, his eyes intense even in the dim light. "We live, we play, we win." "And us?" "We win together," he replied simply. That night, I fell asleep in his arms, more at peace than I had ever been. But morning brought the harsh reality. We had practice in 3 hours, and a secret that could destroy our careers if discovered. In the locker room, we kept our distance. The glances we exchanged were quick and full of meaning that only we understood. Coach Rodriguez watched everyone like a hawk, always alert for any distraction that could compromise the team's performance. "Connor, your defense is sloppy today," he shouted during practice. "Focus!" I tried, but it was hard when every move Lucas made caught my attention. How he moved, how his uniform clung to his body, and how the sweat made his skin shine under the court lights. In the following weeks, we developed a system. Quick meetups in the empty video room, stolen moments in the locker room after everyone bolted, secret nights at his apartment when my roommates were away. Every moment together was a treasure. Every separation felt like a small death. Our connection only made our game stronger. We established a silent communication on the court, anticipating each other's moves. The coach noticed and praised our chemistry, not knowing the true reason behind it. "What are you two doing? Practicing telepathy?" he joked during a break. Lucas and I exchanged looks, fighting hard not to smile. The season carried on, and our team edged closer to the playoffs. The pressure mounted, as did the risk of getting caught. One night, we almost got busted by the janitor in the training room. Another time, Ryan nearly walked in on us during an intimate moment. "This is crazy," I said to Lucas, as we quickly got dressed after a meeting in the equipment room. "We're risking everything." "It's worth it," he replied, his eyes full of certainty that made my heart leap. "You're worth it." On the eve of the semi-final, I couldn't sleep. It wasn't just the game that worried me. It was the future. Lucas was in his final year and would probably be recruited by a professional team, while I still had 2 years left. The thought of losing him felt like a constant weight on my chest. The next day, we played like never before. Our connection on the court was almost supernatural, frustrating our opponents. When the final whistle blew, we were heading to the championship game. During the celebration in the locker room, amid cheers and hugs from teammates, Lucas moved close to me for a moment. "We need to talk," he whispered. "Later, at the gym." With a heavy heart, I nodded. I knew he was going to finish what we started. After all, his career was about to take off and I would just be a risk, a complication. The gym was as quiet as ever. Lucas was already there when I arrived, sitting on the makeshift bleachers, staring at the empty court. "I'm turning down any offer that takes me away from you," he said, as soon as I sat down beside him. His words completely caught me off guard. "What? You can't do that. It's your dream." "My dreams have changed," he replied, his eyes locking. "With mine. Or rather, they've grown to include you. Lucas, I can't let you sacrifice your career for this. For me. It's not a sacrifice when it's a choice." He took my hands in his, a bold move even in that deserted place. "I'll find a team nearby. I'll wait for you to finish. We'll make it work." Tears I hadn't even realized I was holding began to stream down my face. "Why?" "Because I love you," he said simply, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "And because I'm tired of hiding." His words unleashed something inside me. Years of doubt, fear, and denial crumbled like a house of cards. For the first time, I allowed myself to believe we could have a future. "I love you too," I confessed, feeling the liberating power of those words. When we kissed on the court of that abandoned gym, it was different from all our previous times. It wasn't just passion. It was a promise, commitment, hope. On the night of the final, we played as one. In the last few seconds, with the score tied, Lucas passed me the ball in a move we had practiced hundreds of times during our secret sessions. I shot, and the ball traced a perfect arc into the basket. When it swished through the net with a soft rustle, the gym erupted in celebration. Amid the chaos of victory, Lucas held me longer than usual. "I'm tired of hiding," he whispered in my ear. "I'm tired." And in that moment, amid the greatest sports victory of our lives, I realized that our real win was still ahead. The courage to be who we really are, together, in the eyes of the world. Lying in the hotel bed after the official celebration, I watched the trophies shine, reflecting the moonlight. Lucas slept beside me, our bodies still buzzing from the energy of victory and the intimacy we'd shared afterward. I thought about everything we risked and everything we gained. The road ahead would be tough. The sports world still wasn't exactly welcoming to people like us. But that night, watching the man I loved sleeping peacefully beside me, I felt an unshakable certainty. The morning after the final, I woke up before Lucas. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the hotel curtains, drawing golden patterns on his skin. I stayed there, watching his chest rise and fall in a slow rhythm, thinking about how everything had changed in just a few months. From strangers to teammates, from friends to lovers, and now, we were on the brink of something completely new. Today, the celebration continued with a formal ceremony followed by a party organized by the university. It would be our last official team event before summer break. For Lucas, potentially his final event as a student before moving on to professional basketball. The reality of that nearing separation weighed on me as I watched him sleep. "I can tell you're watching me," Lucas murmured, his eyes still closed and a smile forming on his lips. "Sorry," I replied, unable to hold back my own smile. "It's just that you look so damn beautiful sleeping." He opened his eyes, those intense blue eyes immediately meeting mine. "Last night was real, wasn't it? Winning the championship. Just the two of us." "Everything was real," I confirmed, gently running my fingers along his arm. "And what I said about being tired of hiding," my heart started racing. "That was real too?" Lucas sat up on the bed, fully awake now. "I've never spoken so seriously in my life, Connor. I don't want to live in the shadows anymore. I don't want what we have to be some hidden secret." "What exactly are you proposing?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of hope and fear. "I want to leave this hotel hand in hand with you. I want to be able to hug you after games without counting the seconds so it doesn't seem suspicious. I want everyone to know we're together." His determination was contagious, though my fear still lingered. "What about your career, the scouts, the contracts? If they can't accept me as I am with who I love, then I don't want to be part of that world," he said with a conviction that took my breath away. "Besides, things are changing, slowly, but they are. Maybe we can help change things faster." Took my hands in his. "But I won't do it alone. It has to be a decision we both make. If you're not ready, I'll wait, for as long as it takes." I looked at our intertwined hands, thinking about all the implications. My traditional family, my teammates, the years I still had left at university. The fear of the unknown was huge, but when I looked at Lucas, I realized that the fear of losing him was infinitely greater. "I'm ready," I finally said. "It won't be easy, but I want to be by your side, out in the open for everyone to see." The smile that lit up his face at that moment was worth any risk. We headed down to breakfast at the hotel restaurant where the whole team was staying. Lucas grabbed my hand in the elevator and didn't let go when the doors opened. My heart was pounding, so loudly I was sure everyone could hear it. We walked over to our table where a few of our teammates were already gathered. Ryan was the first to notice, his eyes widening for a moment before giving us a discreet nod. Others watched in silence, some looking confused and others with unreadable expressions. "Good morning," Lucas said casually, as if nothing extraordinary was happening. We sat side by side, and he draped his arm around my shoulders while serving us coffee. I realized I was holding my breath and forced myself to relax. The world hadn't ended, the sky hadn't fallen. Coach Rodriguez walked into the restaurant, his sharp eyes taking in the scene. He strode straight to our table, and I felt Lucas tense up beside me, bracing himself for what was coming. "So," the coach said, his expression unreadable, "you finally decided to come out." I froze while Lucas replied with a calm that I admired. "Yes, coach." Rodriguez looked at each of us for a long moment. "You guys are adults. What you do off the court is your business, as long as you keep playing like last night and respect the team." He paused, then added, "And as long as the rest of the team is okay with it." He glanced around at the other players, silently asking a question. Ryan was the first to speak. "I'm fine with it. They led us to the title, didn't they?" Others agreed, some with more enthusiasm than others. There were a few awkward silences, but no one directly objected. "Well, it looks like it's settled then," the coach concluded, picking up a cup of coffee. "Congratulations on yesterday's win, everyone. And," he looked at Lucas and me, "congratulations on this too. Be happy, play well, and don't give me any headaches." As soon as he walked away, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Lucas squeezed my shoulder, and when I looked at him, I saw tears welling in his eyes. "That was surprisingly easy," I managed to say. "That was just the first step," he replied. "We have many more ahead." He was right. In the following days, we faced everything. Curious looks on campus, comments on social media, worried calls from my parents when the news reached them. Some unexpected support also came our way. My older sister sent us flowers, and the captain of another league team sent a message of solidarity. A week after the final, Lucas got the call he'd been waiting for, an offer from a professional team. It wasn't the team of his dreams, nor the most lucrative contract, but it was an opportunity. And best of all, it was in the same city, which meant we could still be together while I finished my studies. "They know about us," Lucas said, after hanging up. "They said that as long as I play well and act professional, my personal life is my own. Are you going to take it?" "I'll think about it," he replied, though his smile suggested the decision was already made. 2 weeks later, as I was helping Lucas move into his new apartment, bigger than before, with enough room for two, as he pointed out, I got a message from Coach Rodriguez. "I need to speak with you. My office tomorrow at 10. My stomach sank. Despite the initial acceptance, the fear of backlash, or a change of mind, always lingered. Lucas noticed my worried expression. "What is it?" he asked. I showed him the message, and he frowned. "Do you want me to come with you?" "No. I need to face this alone," I replied, though I was terrified at the thought of losing my spot on the team. The next morning, I entered the coach's office with my heart pounding. To my surprise, he wasn't alone. A man in a suit, whom I recognized as the university's athletic director, was also there. "Connor, have a seat," said Rodriguez, motioning to the chair in front of him. "We have a proposal for you." Confused, I sat down. The athletic director leaned forward. "Let me get straight to the point. The university is considering starting a support program for LGBTQ+ athletes. After what happened with you and Lucas, and especially given the positive media impact, we think you'd be the perfect ambassador for this initiative." I was at a loss for words. Of all the possibilities I'd imagined, this one had never even crossed my mind. "It would be completely voluntary," the director continued. "Your spot on the team is guaranteed, no matter what you decide. But we believe your story could inspire other athletes to be true to themselves." I looked at Coach Rodriguez, who gave a slight nod. "It was his idea," the director admitted. "Why?" I managed to ask the coach. Rodriguez sighed deeply. "Because I've seen so many talented players lose themselves over the years by not being able to be who they really are. And because," he hesitated for a moment, "I have a nephew who went through the same thing as you two, only he ended up quitting the sport. I don't want that to happen to anyone else." I left that meeting with a sense of purpose I'd never experienced before. I called Lucas immediately, and he was as surprised as I was, but immensely proud. That night, sitting on the balcony of the new apartment and watching the city lights, we reflected on the journey that had led us here, from a chance meeting in the locker room to a love that was not only changing our lives, but could potentially change the lives of many others. "Do you regret anything?" I asked, resting my head on his shoulder. Lucas thought for a moment. "I only regret not having had the courage sooner. We could have had more time together." "We have all the time in the world now," I replied, intertwining my fingers with his. "Yes, we do," he agreed, kissing the top of my head. The road ahead wouldn't always be easy. There would be obstacles, prejudices to overcome, battles to fight. But as long as we were together, like that night when we won the championship, I knew we could face any challenge. What started as a secret whispered in empty locker rooms had transformed into something much bigger. Not just an open, proud love, but a chance to make a difference. To show others that you can be an athlete, be a man, be gay, and be happy. That you don't have to choose between your passion and your heart. As the stars began to appear in the sky, memories of that first night in the abandoned gym came flooding back. The fear and the excitement, not knowing what would come next. Now, by Lucas's side, with our future unfolding before us, I realized that this wasn't the end of our story. It was just the beginning. Subscribe to the channel and hit like to get more stories like this. And this beginning? It was more exciting, more meaningful, and more valuable than any championship we could ever win.